So last week obviously was break, and then the week before that, you guys were supposed to have watched the video on minimalism and done Journal 3, as well as then Passion, Believing, and Happiness videos for the final Journal number 4. Any thoughts that you want to share, you want to discuss quickly on either minimalism or those other happiness videos from 2 weeks ago, if you can remember back that far? What are a couple of things insights you gained or thoughts you had when watching any of those videos?
The first video, I don't know, I was really interested in that.
On the minimalism?
Yeah, how we got into that.
Yes, this guy was trying to go up the corporate ladder, right? And he was making more and more money, having all of these things. And did that gain him the happiness he was looking for? No. So you'll find that successful people and people that are happy first, and happiness actually leads to success, rather than trying to get to success and then having happiness, right? Because we bring the happiness, we bring the energy, we bring the joy, and we do those things that fall in line with our goals and values and principles, and find joy along the way, so that when we get to success, that's because of who we are and our happiness and success. So a lot of people, millionaires, even billionaires, there's stories out there where you'd think they'd be happy because they have millions and millions or even billions of dollars, and yet they arrive there and still have this thought, is this all there is? Like, I thought when I arrived, I would be more happy and fulfilled and feel successful, yet they don't. So wherever we are in life, instead of chasing the ever distancing dollar, right, we can find joy in being a student or being poor or in the relationship. So today we're going to talk about 8 success habits, and a lot of those play into then the joy and the happiness that we have, or these success principles that many have written about, and over again these principles come up if you read happiness or success books and podcasts and all those kind of things, okay? So it's not all about the money, even though money's good to have and we want to control it and we want to manage it so that we can have more of it and use it to build wealth rather than just spend and have debt, right? That contributes to our freedom and opportunities, but it doesn't bring happiness. So we'll talk more about that. Any other thoughts about the videos you guys watched 2 weeks ago? No? All right. Hopefully those were good, those were useful. I watch those frequently and think they're helpful. So, all right, today we're going to talk about 8 success habits. And then on Thursday, we have the final exam review. And then is there anybody in here that cannot be here between 11 and 12 on Tuesday for the final exam? Pretty sure that's... Unless I found the wrong one. I looked up final examination schedule for fall semester. That's what it says. So if there's some conflict, let me know. But otherwise, it'll be 11 to 12. So if you arrive at 11, then you can have as much time as you want, because usually for the exam times, they give you 2 hours. But you can't show up at like 11:30 or 11:45 or 11:50 and then expect to go past 12, because I only want to be here an hour. So if you need more than an hour, you'll probably need about 12 minutes. But if you need more than an hour, then I'll give you more than an hour if you arrive on time. If you arrive late, then you only have until 12. Does that make sense? Any questions about that? All right. Okay, any other questions? Some of you, I graded a lot of things, and I was leaving things blank because you could kind of watch the video and turn some things in for partial credit. And so I went through, and so that you know that I don't have it, I put zeros on everything except the last couple of things, right? So I haven't graded the last 2 journals, and maybe the productivity survey, maybe I did, I can't remember that one. but everything else is graded. So you should look, and some of you have emailed me on Canvas and said, hey, I thought I had done these. And unless you go again into Canvas and say, I took the survey, I'm just going to give you a 0. I'm not checking and getting the names and going and doing it. You have to say, I did the survey and I'm doing that. And if I have a question, did this person really show up? Then I'll go check the survey. And if your name's not on the survey, then you're going to get a fail for the class, right? Drop a grade. So try to be honest. If you're in class and you took the survey, yet you have a 0, then you need to email me and say, sorry, I was in class, I did take the survey, I didn't put down that I took the survey, and please check my name, and then I'll do that. Okay? Any questions about grading? Very good. All right, so there's a lot of things with this that I don't have memorized, so I'm going to use some notes on here. Hopefully you guys can see this all right. So, success habits. Hopefully you guys can implement this. Most of you, these habits, most of you are freshmen, but wherever you are in life, if you implement these, you'll have more success in life. So number 1, over and over and over, is to establish and understand your why. And this could be your why for any area of your life, right? For relationships, financially, mentally, socially, whatever it is. Why do you want to do that thing? And what they found is we kind of have this, is this on timer? No, that's right. Okay. We have this 7 layers. So we have this mental idea of, if you guys say, what are you going to graduate in? And you give your, what's somebody going to graduate in? What's your major?
Animal science.
Animal science. So then we say, why is it important for you to graduate in animal science? And you say, well, and then you give an answer that could just kind of be, because I like animals and I want to help them. Okay, well, why do you like animals and why do you want to help them? And then it goes down, and usually around 7 layers deep, you actually get to this idea of your true why. And that's the motivation. It's emotional to you. It's maybe something of growing up, or you're a counselor because you or friends were abused in some way when you're a child. I mean, we have reasons why we do things, right? But what is the why? And that why gives us the power then, the motivation to move forward and accomplish those things. And so especially when we have goals or a vision of where we want to go, we want to ask ourselves, not just once, but 7 times even, why do I want to do that? Why does doing this create happiness in my life or lead to success for me? Does that make sense? So you want to get to your emotional why and tie those into your values and purpose. So what's your passion? What's your vision? Get clear on who you want to be, right? Was there a quote? If you had to be the person you are today for the rest of your life, would you be happy? Hopefully you're happy with who you are today, but hopefully you also want to continue to improve and become better, right? Become a better version of yourself. So I'm happy with who I am today, but I wouldn't be happy if I stayed the same for the rest of my life. I want to continue to progress and move forward, right? So purpose. All right, habit number 2. This one's a little difficult. Seek personal growth. A lot of times, personal growth comes from suffering, right? And things not going well, and challenges and trials in our life. We have some immune disease that we get, or we get in a car accident and now can't play or have a sports injury and can't exercise or play sports the rest of our lives, or whatever it is. Something gets taken away, we have a challenge, we have a trial, school's hard, we feel like dropping out. These are the times when we're most likely to grow. Wouldn't you agree? Do you guys grow more when there's difficulties in your life and you have to overcome those, or when everything is going A-okay? Challenges? Yeah, okay, good, thanks for... So, happiness comes from striving after our potential, and even the most painful situations cause and can deepen our growth, and these suffering moments are triggers. They use a lot in the literature, these triggers for growth. And so if you think back about maybe opportunities that you had, difficulties, challenges, some people take the opportunity, it's a trigger, an opportunity for growth. And some take the other pathway of victimization, right? Woe is me, life sucks. And they kind of go down into complaining all the time and blaming others and blaming life. Or it's a trigger for growth where you can then take a different pathway where they overcome it, they become stronger, and even though they don't have the use of their legs or they can't play sports anymore or whatever it is, they actually became stronger and they're a positive influence and they're taking responsibility for their life and moving forward rather than pointing the finger and blaming others. You know these type of people, both kind of people? So hopefully you guys, successful people, that's you, will take the second one, right? You'll learn from the growth. You'll say, how do I choose to deal with the challenges, right? Instead of asking, why is this happening to me and blaming others, you say, what can I learn from this experience? So there's a story of this truck. This guy has this brand new truck and he's like, this truck is awesome, and he lives up in Colorado where it snows, and he's going to go and cut some wood in the forest and bring it back. And he brings his dog and they go out, and it's four-wheel drive, and he hasn't ever tested it out. It's this beautiful brand new truck, and he goes off the road and he goes back on the snowy road a little bit and then pulls off to the side to get some wood. Well, he decides, maybe I should move it a little bit, and he gets back in his truck and he's stuck. His truck is stuck in the snow. And he's like, what? This is like my awesome new truck. Why am I stuck in the snow? So he keeps going, trying to go forward and backward and move it, and nothing, right? So he's like, oh gosh, I'm stuck here off the road. Nobody comes down here. I'm going to be here forever until my wife comes and finds me somewhere. And so he goes off to the main road and is looking, and he kind of puts his dog there and says, stay. Maybe they'll see the dog and come in. And so he goes and he's like, okay, well, instead of just sitting here feeling sorry for myself, I'm going to start cutting down, chopping wood, and loading it in my truck, right? So he does that. His truck is then fully loaded. He's got a loaded truck, and he kind of says a little prayer and turns his truck on, and guess what happens? He gets unstuck. Why do you think he got unstuck from that situation? Not the prayer, though prayers can help. It was the what? The load, the weight of the truck. So the load of the truck gave him traction to get out of that stuck situation. So in your guys' life, if you're stuck, maybe the load, the challenge, the trial, the difficulty actually will give you the trigger or the traction to move forward and get out of that rut. Does that make sense? So trying to paint some pictures here. And it says, sometimes we mistakenly may believe that happiness is the absence of the load, but bearing a load is a necessary and essential part of growth and happiness. It gives us the traction to become better. So study after study, this is in research, shows that if we are able to conceive failure as an opportunity for growth, we're all the more likely to experience that growth. So it's our mindset and perspective, right? So along with this, painful situations, a lot of times, have you guys heard of kind of the fixed mindset and the growth mindset? The fixed mindset is we're trying to not do anything that we think we'll fail at. We'll only do those things that we know we can succeed at. We don't want to get outside our comfort zone like we talked about and try new things. Where the growth mindset's like, hey, I can try new things, I can do new things, let me try this. Oops, I failed. Guess what? That's okay. Because we fail forward, and failing actually should be celebrated and getting outside our comfort zone because it means that we're trying, right? All right. So growth through adversity. Viktor Frankl, he was part of the concentration camp in World War II in Germany. He's a psychiatrist, I believe, and he says, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. So he has The True Meaning of Happiness or something like that, a book where it talks about him being in the concentration camp and where they take everything away from you and you can't choose your situation. You can still choose how you behave in that situation, your agency, your choice, right? Abigail Adams says, it is not in the still calm of life that great characters are formed. The habits of a vigorous mind are formed in contending with difficulties. Any thoughts about this idea of successful people see failure as an opportunity, see challenges as opportunities for growth rather than, oh man, why is this happening to me? Life sucks. Seems like everything goes well for successful people, but only people like me have challenges. That's not true. So any thoughts about this? You think this is true? Yes. All right. Aim high even if you miss. So Les Brown, I think, did we watch a little bit of Les Brown? I can't remember. He says, the reason why people don't grow or succeed is not because they aimed too high and missed. It's because they aimed too low and hit. He says the sad thing is some people don't even aim at all. So again, if your goals and things are down here and you aim and hit, that's worse than aiming higher and missing your target but still getting higher than a low goal. Does that make sense? So aim high even if you miss, right? These goals, we talked about goals, and getting outside your comfort zone and having them challenging is what motivates us. And so if they're just easy goals, then, and even if we hit it, we're not really growing. So we talked about this again. Like I said, these are separate individual workshops and presentations I do, and so there's some repetitive things in there, so you guys get a reminder. Which one do we want to be in, guys? Comfort zone, discomfort zone, or delusional zone? Discomfort zone, right? It stretches you. You should have some fear, uncertainty, doubt when you're in this. It's the next level of success in life lies just outside your comfort zone, just on the other side of a little bit of fear, right? So we need to be in here. We need to feel discomfort. If you guys aren't feeling discomfort in school and your coursework, it's not challenging you enough. If you're not taking some risk in your relationships, in sharing and being vulnerable, on and on and on, just outside your comfort zone, just beyond that area of fear, a little bit of fear, lies your next level of success. So who you are today, if you're continuing to grow and become better and become the next best version of yourself, you need to be pushing yourself and be in this discomfort zone. Again, if you're not failing enough, you're not trying hard enough on things that truly matter. All right, working with others. So one thing that Dean Graziosi and a lot of other success researchers and gurus talk about is that we're told to work on our weaknesses, right? Like you have these weaknesses, focus on those and overcome those weaknesses. And what they kind of say is recognize the weaknesses and maybe work a little bit on those, but work on your strengths. Focus on your strengths because that's where you can have a large increase, where on your weaknesses you have these small ones. And if you work with others that have strengths where your weaknesses are, then you don't necessarily need to be everything, right? You can be the best at these things and then collaborate with, hire, build a team of where your weaknesses are with others who have those strengths. And then you can all do better because you're all focused on your strengths. So when we work as teams, when we work together, when we work with others to accomplish our goals, we're much more likely. So again, millionaires, billionaires, they're not doing it on their own, right? They have certain things. Maybe they are the vision person and they know where they want to go, but they're not really great at managing people or managing the everyday tasks. So they need somebody that's their focus, that's their strength. Does that make sense? So working with others to become successful is key. All right. Habit number 3. And again, 2 is overcoming challenges. So working with people to overcome these weaknesses that we have. Does that make sense? 3 is align your goals with purpose and values. So if you don't know what your values are, or if you haven't thought about purpose, again, this kind of gets back a little bit to the why, then you need to take time to reflect and figure that out because your goal should be aligned with those things, right? If your goal is to become a multimillionaire, how does that align with your values, your principles, your purpose? Is it because you want more freedom to then give back and to help others? Do you have a value that states that? Or is it just to control other people and to have money and tell everybody that you're better than them? Is that your value? Like, align it with what your values are. Does that make sense? That's part of living a life of integrity. All right, so Tony Robbins, again, I think we're going to watch a little video of him. He talked about the RPM, which is results, purpose, and the map of doing this. And so he coaches, presidents, every single president he's gone and talked with, Oprah Winfrey, all these top people, CEOs, 500 companies. He goes and does kind of this coaching, executive coaching with them, and this is one of his principles is RPM. So what is the result, this outcome that you want? This is what, again, successful people do, right? Why, this is the why again, the purpose, you want it, and then you have to make a massive action plan. You have to, what's the plan, what are the details? So that's kind of the SMART goals, right? Being specific and measurable and attainable to accomplish those. But we don't start with this. We start with, I'm here in this area, say social, and I want to be here. This is the result, the outcome I want. And why do I want that? We can do the 7 layers deep if we want. What's my purpose? Why do I want that? Well, these reasons. This is why. I understand there'll be challenges. I'll overcome those. I'm going to work with people, etc. Now let me create some SMART goals, a massive action plan to accomplish that. And another one he says is MIA, massive imperfect action. So a lot of times, again, the fixed mindset people are like, well, if I don't know how to do this perfectly, I don't really want to do it, right? But the growth mindset say, hey, I'm going to jump in there both feet. I'm going to take massive action, even if it's imperfect. Massive imperfect action. I may fail forward, right? I may do it and fail, and I'll learn from that, and then I'll try something else. And I'll keep going until I have accomplished that thing. So that's the growth mindset that we should all be having. Any questions or thoughts about this? All right. We've seen this before. Fewer, more relevant goals. Instead of having, with 10 arrows, 10 different goals, try to have 3, right? Fewer, more relevant. Once you accomplish those, get a few more. We've talked about that. All right, so what is a hero? Christopher Reeve. Who knows who Christopher Reeve is? Anybody? He's the original Superman. Anybody seen the first, second, third Superman? He's the original Superman. So I just watched that with my kids like a month or 2 ago. He got in an accident and broke his neck and became a paraplegic. Superman, that's pretty sad, right? So this is his quote. He says, a hero is an ordinary individual who finds the strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles. You guys notice the theme here? Is life going to be roses and cupcakes and rainbows all the time? No, we should expect difficulties. We should expect overwhelming obstacles. But a hero, or people who are successful, find the strength to persevere and overcome and endure these types of things. So it's key to remember that. Another one from Winston Churchill. Hopefully you guys know him. He was over England and British Isles during World War II. He says, success consists of going from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. Anybody know J.K. Rowling? Harry Potter books? How many places did she go, publishers did she go until it was accepted? You think for an awesome book like Harry Potter, she'd just go to one, they'd read it and go, this is awesome, right? Anybody else like Harry Potter besides me? But how many times, do you guys know how many publishers she went to before she got? Could be, I have 12, but fairly high, right? 12 to 16. Can you imagine that? Think about going someplace and them rejecting it, and going someplace and rejecting it, and you're like on 11. And you're like, I've gone to 11 publishers and no one likes my stuff. Could she have quit? Yeah, now she's richer than like the Queen of England, right? She's rolling in the dough. So you need to push through the no's. Rejection. Just say, hey, and that's what, how do you do this? How do you go from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm? You have to have the why. You have to know your purpose. It has to be aligned with your values and principles. Because if you just have a goal just to make money because I want to make money, or I want to be, in ACES because people said that was good, and you don't have it, a purpose, a reason, a why, you're just kind of doing it, then when challenges come up, you're not going to go from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. You're going to quit. So find the reason, right? If you want to be successful, that's why we bring the joy. We have, what does success mean to me? What do I want to do? What am I good at? What do I want to pursue? What's my purpose of doing this? And that gives you the motivation to continue to go from failure to failure without the loss of enthusiasm. This is what successful people do. These are the principles of successful people. And if you're going after it and you fail, again, if you're not failing enough, it means you're not trying hard enough on those things that really matter to you. All right, number 4, listen to the inner hero, not the inner villain. Does everybody have like a little, not necessarily the devil and an angel or whatever on your shoulders, but that's kind of depicts. Dean Graziosi calls it, did he talk about this in your videos and happiness videos? He didn't, did he? I forget. So about a villain and then kind of a hero that lives inside of each of us. And I like how he puts it here. So he says, we have a villain inside us, like a parasite that feeds off our fear, tells us we're not good enough, not to try, is pessimistic, negative, apathetic, etc. Right? It's the victim mentality. It's take the easy road. We need to shut this villain out and rid ourselves of this parasite. He says some ways to do this. Try stop watching the news. Try to stop being on social media. Maybe take a social media fast. Anybody ever tried that for a day or a week? Social media fast and news fast? Because a lot of things, they're negative on there. And if they're not negative, what do we see on there? Other people having the perfect life, and our life comparable to theirs sucks, right? That's what we see. Look, they have the perfect Thanksgiving, and they're going on the perfect vacation, and she has the perfect clothes or haircut, and I blah, 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 and then we feel bad about ourselves. So shut some of those things out. This is, again, the villain inside of us telling us we're not good enough. We're comparing ourselves to others, their best selves, to maybe our worst selves, and we think that that's a fair comparison. Does anybody think they compare themselves to others? Yeah, all of us do, I'm sure, right? So, take a break from those. And then we also have a hero who takes responsibility, who does hard things, who lives a life of integrity, who doesn't compare to others and is just grateful for who they are and is trying to become better, right? And so this over here, the one you feed, the 2 wolves, anybody heard this Cherokee story before? All right, so I'm going to read it. This is an old Cherokee chief. He's teaching his grandson about life, and his son was going through some things, grandson, so he decided to tell him the story. The Cherokee chief says, "A fight is going on inside me, my boy. It is a terrible fight, and it is between 2 wolves. One is evil. He is anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, self-doubt, and ego. The other is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. The same fight is going on inside of you and inside of every other person too." You guys have that fight inside of you? 2 wolves? So the grandson thought for a minute and then asked his father, which wolf will win? And the old chief simply replied, the one you feed. How do we feed those wolves? How do we feed either the good wolf or the negative wolf? What do they eat? Not meat, right? It's the story that we tell ourselves, right? The thoughts that we put in, the comparison of seeing other people and saying that we're not good enough. It's, again, the hero versus the villain. So what you give your attention and energy to grows. So you can either feed your mind with positive ideas or pessimistic ones. And what you focus on longest grows the strongest. There's neural pathways in our brain, and they tend to form based on the stories that we tell ourselves, the thoughts that we put in, right? The sentences that go through our mind. So what are you telling yourselves? What's the story? Is the story one of empowerment and of gratitude and of positivity and of personal responsibility? Or is it one of victimhood and negative and pessimistic and blaming others and life isn't great, right? And woe is me. What we tell ourselves, the story we tell ourselves, neural pathways actually form and create then the mood, the feelings, the attitude that we have, and that attitude then manifests in the behaviors and the decisions that we make. And then our behaviors lead to the outcomes in life and the results, which then are our destiny and who we are. So it all starts with what? Thoughts. You guys heard of the book, As a Man Thinketh, So Is He? Our thoughts determine our feelings, determine our actions, determine our results and our behaviors, right? So what are we putting into our mind? What are the thoughts? There's lots of different stories that all these gurus talk about where people come in, and I do life coaching. And this is the number one thing I help people with, is to change their story of pessimism and woe is me and it's everybody else's fault or I can't do anything right, etc., to one of empowerment. And once they change, then amazing miracles happen in their life because it results in what's going on, right? What are you guys' thoughts about this? You think the story we tell ourselves, the thoughts that we have, are really that powerful? You guys seen this in your own life or in the lives of others? You guys all falling asleep on me? Never mind. All right, so change your story, change your life. Got it? Again, any of these principles, if you just picked one of them, and this PowerPoint is up on Canvas, you can go and just get it if you want to look at these again, or you can watch the recorded video. Pick one and work on it, right? Work on your why. Work on overcoming challenges. Work on changing the story that you tell yourselves. Number 5 is similar. It's taking accountability, but it's important enough that it needs its own success habit, right? Being self-aware, learning this skill of self-awareness goes along with emotional intelligence. They found that a lot of employers would rather have somebody that is self-aware, emotionally intelligent, but hasn't been trained in their area than somebody highly trained, but with low self-awareness or low emotional intelligence, right? This idea of understanding yourself and how you influence and interact with other people is really important. And part of that, the main thing, is taking accountability. So again, despite the choices of others, we ask, what can I do to move forward in this area? How can I make things better and provide more value? And this goes along with the Japanese word kaizen. You guys heard that before? Constant and never-ending improvement. They're not sitting around blaming, oh, production did this, therefore we can't do this. Well, sales, if sales just did this, then this would happen. No, they say, even though production's behind 4 months, we as the sales still have to meet our numbers. So what can I do as a salesperson to meet the numbers, even though I thought I'd have this new product, but production is behind? We don't do the victim mentality. We take responsibility and accountability. One of these is the ACES principle. That's a book, and they have a whole book that's like 450 pages on just this idea alone of the ACES principle. And where is it? And just basically says that we see ourselves, when we see ourselves as the victim, we justify our position, right? So it goes into how we do this. We're justifying. So think in your own life when you've felt like you're the victim. And then what do? You gather other people around you that will agree with you. You find indications of why you're right and they're wrong, why you're the victim, why it's somebody else's fault, right? You justify your position of victimhood. And so one of the main issues today that's on the opposite side of success is this victim mindset, not taking responsibility. So 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey, being proactive. One of the things is he says, look in the mirror. That's who's responsible for where you are in life and who you are. It's not anybody else's. Maybe you were abused as a kid. Maybe you grew up in a broken family or broken home. Maybe you didn't have hardly any money growing up. Maybe whatever it is. Are those restraints that you have to do, that you have to live with? Yeah, but you can still choose and move beyond that and take responsibility for yourself rather than I'm the victim. So it says we justify our position. Instead of waiting on or blaming someone else, do all in your power to bring to pass the desired outcome. That's the main story of the Oz principle. So, Tony Robbins again says, our lives, do I have the video on here? No. Our lives are not shaped by our condition, but by our decisions. We need to commit to enjoy life, not only when everything goes our way, but everything goes against us. So this is a really good quote I like. Happiness is not the belief that we don't need to change. It is the realization that we can. So we may not be where we want to be, but we can change and we can choose something different and we can become who we want to be. So only you can live to choose with abundance and happiness. Other people aren't supposed to bring it. And again, Oprah and all these other people talk about these over and over and over and over again. You guys have any thoughts about this idea? Hopefully, if in your mind you were the person that was kind of pessimistic or woe is me or the victimhood person, I'm trying to create a mind shift in all of these things that we're talking about throughout these discussions we've been having to one of empowerment, right, and success principles. And I can win with money, and I can win in life, and I can win in my relationships, and I can be more productive, et cetera, right? Rather than other people need to do things for me or it's other people's fault. So here's the video. Let me see if we have enough time. What time is it? 12:37. All right, so he talks about living in a beautiful state, taking ownership. This is Tony Robbins. Have you guys seen something with Tony Robbins already?
When you get a certain stage, you think one thought. When you get another stage, you think another thought. Like turning the channel. And so what I really show people the book how to do is how to turn the channel so that you're not suffering when you're living in a beautiful state. But what does it take? Let's just quickly say it. Number one, it takes acknowledging what your favorite flavor of suffering is. Is it worry? Is it stress? Is it anger? Is it loneliness? Is it boredom? Is it overwhelm? And then noticing what are the thoughts that trigger that, and realizing it doesn't matter how much money you have, those thoughts can still make a billionaire crazy and frustrated and overwhelmed. And so what I show people to do is a process of how to let go of those thoughts, and we walk through that in the book in detail, but fundamentally it starts with making the most important decision of your life, which is, if I would ask me up until 2 years ago, I would say it's who you spend time with, who you love. Because who you spend time with is who you become. I think it's still one of the most important decisions in life. But you can pick the right person and still do things in your head and make yourself miserable. So you really have to decide. The most important decision is, do I want to be happy? Will I commit to being happy? But more importantly, happy. Sometimes you can be so happy, you smile so much your face hurts, right? You need light. Am I committed to living in a beautiful state, even when it doesn't go my way? Even when it rains on my parade? Even when my biggest fear shows up? Because I can't control whether your husband or wife will live or die or get sick or leave you or get divorced. I don't want any of that to happen to anyone. I hate suffering. I don't help people not suffer. But I can't control that. You can. There are people who lost their arm, who lost their sight. There have been people that have been through the most horrific experiences in life, and they found a way to still be happy because they made the decision that life is too short to suffer. I've interviewed dozens and hundreds over the years, but dozens that like have impacted my soul, that made me realize I can't change this. I just gotten used to it. I bought into the theory that this survival software that's constantly running and making you suffer, that's normal. No, that's what the mind will do. And mind has been around forever. What I'm going to do is something different. And the way I get out of suffering, I give myself a 90-second rule. It's really simple. I say, look, if I feel myself starting to feel that stress, feeling that pissed offness or upsetness or concern or worried or whatever, I realize that's not going to make it better. Life's too short to suffer. And then I just kind of breathe slowly, slow everything down, and I just watch the thought go by. Go, look at that crazy thought. Because everybody's got crazy thoughts. Everybody's got a thought, I'm going to kill that son of a bitch. And you don't kill them because you don't believe that thought. It's the thoughts that are stressful that you believe that mess you up. When you question them, you break the pattern. And then the last thing is like 90 seconds. And by the way, Richard, you noticed in the game, it should have been like 4-hour rule. Maybe a 4-day rule. I was not very good. Yes, but what's nice is the more I've done, it's like a muscle. The more I've trained myself to do it, I can authentically tell you now, it takes a lot for somebody to take more than 90 seconds from me now. And the level of joy It surpasses all the money you could ever have in a million years. And then the money is easier to make money because you're not attached. You don't have the fears, you don't have the scarcity people have because you feel so rich already right now. I always tell people, don't wait to be rich. What is that riches? It's abundance, it's joy, it's happiness, it's contribution, it's getting out of yourself. Because as long as we're thinking about, oh my God, I lost something, or you did something wrong, less love, less respect, less money. If I think lost less, or because you did something, or because I did something, I'm never going to have what I want in my life. Lost less, never. Those three thought patterns, they're the source of all suffering. And the antidote, see it for what it really is, know it's BS, and find something to appreciate.
All right, you guys get anything out of that?
I think he'll end up like Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby with what?
Well, you know, the allegations that he's facing right now.
I don't know. Hope not. He's a good guy. But yeah, that's a possibility. So, you are what you think and what you do. Live in a beautiful state. You can choose. Again, fear, less, loss. If we're thinking these things, then again, it's creating those neural pathways in our brains of scarcity, of limiting beliefs, rather than of abundance. So, number 6, create morning and evening routines. Does anybody have a morning or evening routine that's been helpful for them? Tim Ferriss says that you win the morning, you win the day. Top performers have consistent morning and evening routines. And so, what are some of the things that they say that could work? There's a video over here, but I don't think we have time. So they talk about your evening routine. You can take some time, right? You can have a gratitude journal, but you write 3 things you're grateful for. You do 3 things you've accomplished that day, or if this is in the morning, the day before. 3 successes that you had, and then 3 things you will accomplish that day or the next day, depending on if it's morning or the evening, right? And so some people, again, you get up and you can kind of, there's a lot of research that says if you have your phone in your room and right next to your bed and you're on it right before you go to bed and then you wake up and you look at it and you start looking at stuff, okay, no real successful people do that. They take a break from their phones. And especially, again, like I said, news and social media and things. So if you get on and that's the first thing you're doing, what if you check an email or a text or social media and that has, like, again, negative influences on you, and then you start and it influences the whole rest of the day with negativity, right? But instead, if you get up in the morning and you do some deep breathing or you listen to a positive book or podcast or something while you maybe do some push-ups or work out a little bit or meditate or do some yoga, take a shower and just kind of think and meditate about things you're grateful for. I mean, different things you can do in the morning. It sets you up for a win, right? It sets you up for the day with energy, with happiness, bringing your energy to the day rather than checking an email, oh man, I have to worry about this, and I have to worry about this, and your whole day is now a negative spiral. So, it's my 5-minute warning. So, creating morning and evening routines over and over and over and over, all these different successful people have those. And so, you could just Google different people's morning and evening routines. Again, Google this. This is a YouTube 5 evening routines that many successful people do, and they go through and talk about 5 evening routines as well. But gratitude, usually some kind of good information, whether it be a spiritual text or a good podcast or something like that, good music, and then some type of maybe exercise or deep breathing or meditation, things like that, I recommend. Any thoughts about that? Do it. Do it. You don't get any credit, but you do in life. All right. Attitude of gratitude, not comparing. We talked a little bit about this already, but Stephen Covey says, if the ladder is not leaning against the right wall, every step we take just gets us to the wrong place faster. So again, like in the video you watched on, what's it called? What's the video you guys watched on Tuesday? Yeah, what's it called again? Minimalism, thank you. I couldn't think of that word. On minimalism, he was climbing the ladder, And then if you get to the top of the ladder, he found out it was leaning against the wrong wall. What he thought brought happiness and success, right? Instead, then he changed his life, got his ladder, leaned it against a different wall, and now he's happier, even though he makes less money and has less stuff. Because stuff and money don't necessarily make you happy, right? Your why does, your purpose, your values. You have to decide what those are. So instead of trying to achieve success according to someone else, we should create our own definition of success. This is another thing in my life coaching that is I do with every single person. They're living out other people's scripts, right? If we don't decide for ourselves our purpose and why of where we're going and what we want to achieve, then as other people come into our lives and ask us for things, hey, can you be on this project? Hey, do you want to do this? Hey, there's this thing over here. We tend to say yes. And now we're living out the goals and values or whatever of other people rather than our own. So successful people decide what their purpose is, what their vision is, what they want to accomplish. And then as people provide opportunities, if those align with what they want to do, they say yes. If they don't, they say, that sounds like a great opportunity and sounds like a good, endeavor. I'm not going to be a part of it at this time because of this and this, but good luck with what you're doing. Right? You don't have to say yes. I have to practice with people this idea of saying no. And so we need our own definition of success. Not what other people say. I have a doctor I'm meeting with right now, makes over $300,000 a year. He's trying to be on all of these committees and stuff because his mentor and others have said that's what success is in his line of work. Right? In mine, I could be like the #1 top producer of research articles and things, and everybody, or large grants, and I would be like, successful to other people. But that's not what success is to me. I want to define what success is, what a fulfilling life is, what a beautiful state is, right? And do that, not what other people tell me. So are you doing things because other people have told you? Are you in your major because maybe your parents said you should, and you don't really have a passion for it? Or are you there because you really have a desire? You've decided and defined success for yourself. All right, appreciation, that goes a long way. This is one of my key quotes. I think I have it outside my door. Replace expectations with appreciation. This goes especially with relationships. If we have expectations, one of the biggest areas of conflict is because we have expectations of what they should be doing according to us, and they fall short, so therefore we're mad at them, right? And if you want to read a whole book about that, it's called Boundaries. Instead, if we appreciate what others do for us, especially invisible work, which is work that they do but don't have to. So I'm married, and I do certain things, work on the house and take care of some things in the yard. My wife takes care of certain things. She usually cooks the meal. And if I just expect that to happen and then it doesn't happen, then I get mad because it doesn't happen. Is that good? No. Wouldn't it be better then if I appreciated the invisible work instead? Right? All right. So I got one more minute, so I'm going to go through these quick. So Tony Robbins talked about contribution. 2 of the keys to happiness is contributing, sharing, helping others. It helps your mental health. It makes you feel better. So what are ways that you give? It could be time. It could be money, right? It could be emotional, listening to people. But giving and helping and contributing to others, and then personal growth, what we've been talking about here, are the 2 key ingredients to happiness. We didn't do happiness, but those are the 2 key ingredients. Number 8 is nurture your relationships. So again, Tony Robbins said a couple years ago, he would talk about who you spend time with, your relationships. Right? There's lots of research that shows relationships really contribute to life and longevity of life and happiness in life, and successful people surround themselves with other successful people, whatever that's successful, not just monetarily, financially, but other ways, right? And for me, this is one of my favorite quotes because my family's more important than other things. And so no success in life can compensate for failure in their home. If I'm successful here, but I fail in the home, then that's not what success is to me, right? Define what success is. Social relationships are the best guarantee of heightened well-being and lowered stress. So are they meaningful? Are they powerful? Are they full of life? Are we being purposeful in our relationships? Are we surrounded by people that are always negative and complaining and gossiping about somebody else? And then we tend to do that, right? We are the average of the 5 people we hang around most. So financially, socially, emotionally, all these things, decide who you want to hang around, who you want to be, and maybe there's a cancer